So, are you dreaming of seeing the Canadian Rockies, or maybe visiting family over in Toronto? Well, for a whole lot of people, that dream has to start with a visitor visa. And let me tell you, it's not just some piece of paper, it can be a real hurdle. So today, we're going to break down the exact steps, and more importantly, the strategies you need to know to make that Canadian trip a reality.
I mean, this is the big question, right? You're excited, you're making plans, but you're also facing this immigration process that can feel like a total black box. The secret isn't just getting lucky, it's about understanding what they're actually looking for. So let's turn on the lights and see what's really going on in there.
And here's the honest truth. Getting a yes is getting tougher. Refusal rates are way up, which means just filling out the forms and hoping for the best, that's probably not going to cut it anymore. Visa officers are scrutinizing every single detail, which means your application has to be rock solid and strategic. Okay, so let's start at square one. It might seem like a huge challenge, but it's one you can absolutely solve. First, we've got to get the basic rules of the road down. Who actually needs a visa? And what's the one single idea you have to prove above all else?
First things first, you need to know which line you're in. If you're from a visa-exempt country, think the UK, France, Australia, you probably just need something called an ETA, an electronic travel authorization. It's pretty straightforward. But if you're a citizen of a visa-required country, like India, China, or Nigeria, then you need the full visitor visa, also called a TRV, and that's what we're really digging into today.
Now listen up, because this is probably the most important thing you'll hear. Everything, and I mean everything in your application is about proving you are a bona fide visitor. It's just a fancy way of saying two things. One, you have a real, genuine reason for your trip, and two, that you will absolutely positively leave Canada when your visit is over.
So, to convince them you're a genuine visitor, you kind of have to learn to think like a visa officer. You need to get inside their head. So let's break down exactly what they're looking for when your file lands on their desk. An officer's job is all about managing risk, so their checklist is pretty logical. First, they're looking for your anchors. What strong ties do you have that are going to pull you back home? We're talking a stable job, owning property, family that depends on you. Second, your money. Do you have enough to pay for your trip without being tempted to work illegally? Third, why are you going? A vague, I want a sightseeing, is weak. A detailed itinerary, that's strong. And finally, you have to be admissible. That means no serious criminal record or health problems.
Now, there is a very cool special option for parents and grandparents of Canadian citizens or permanent residents. It's called the Super Visa. A regular visitor usually gets up to 6 months. With the Super Visa, you can stay for up to 5 years at a time. Now, the catch is you have to meet higher standards, like the person in Canada has to show enough income and you need to buy special medical insurance. But for that amount of time with family, it's a huge deal.
Okay, so we know what the officer's thinking. Now for the fun part. Let's get practical. How do you actually put together an application that answers all their questions before they even ask them? Here is your step-by-step game plan. The process itself is pretty straightforward. You'll start online creating an account on the official government, the RCIC portal. Now, the most important part of this whole journey is step 2. This is where you gather all your powerful evidence and write your letter of explanation. If someone's inviting you, that letter of invitation is also key. After that, it's mostly logistics, submitting everything, paying the fees, and getting your fingerprints and photo taken. Okay, please pay very close attention to this. When it comes to your money, officers are trained to spot what they call borrowed funds. If they see a huge chunk of cash suddenly appear in your bank account right before you apply, that is a massive red flag. They'll just assume it isn't really your money and that you're trying to fool them. Honestly, it's one of the fastest ways to get your application denied. This is so important. Your documents, your bank statements, your pay stubs, they just show the facts. But your letter of explanation, the LOE, that's where you tell your story. It's your chance to talk directly to the officer. You connect all the dots, you explain your trip, you break down your finances, and you hammer home all those strong ties that prove you're coming back. Whatever you do, do not skip writing a great LOE.
All right, so you've built a strong case. Now for the nuts and bolts. What's this all going to cost, and how long are you going to be waiting for an answer? Let's look at the numbers. The main application fee is $100 Canadian per person. Then there's an $85 fee for biometrics, your fingerprints and photo. The good news there is that they're good for 10 years. Now, the big variable is processing time. It can be as fast as 2 weeks or drag on for 2 months. It really depends on your home country, so you have to plan ahead. And remember, Even when your visa is approved, it's the officer at the airport who makes the final call, and they'll typically grant you a stay of up to 6 months.
And now, for the topic that keeps everyone up at night, getting refused. But look, understanding why applications get denied is the absolute best way to make sure it doesn't happen to you. So let's shine a light on the most common mistakes.
The number one reason for refusal, and it's not even close, falls under Section 179B of the law. That's just the official code for we don't think you're going to leave. See, it all comes back to not proving you're a bona fide visitor. The other big reasons are having a vague or suspicious-looking travel plan, and those financial red flags we just talked about, not having enough money or having weird last-minute deposits. Okay, but what about this tricky situation? What if you actually do want to immigrate to Canada one day? This brings up a really interesting legal idea called dual intent. Let's say you've already applied to become a permanent resident, but you want to visit while you wait. Well, believe it or not, Canadian law actually allows this, but you have to be really, really careful how you present it.
The whole challenge with dual intent is that you have to prove two seemingly opposite things at the same time. You have to convince the officer you have a real reason to visit right now, but also you have to convince them you will respect the rules and leave Canada if your big permanent residency application gets rejected down the road. You're essentially saying, I hope I get to stay forever, but I promise I'll leave if you tell me I can't. It's a very fine line to walk.
Wow, okay, we have covered a lot. We've talked about the basics, how officers think, the step-by-step process, and even the biggest mistakes to avoid. So after all of that, what's the one thing, the single most important idea that you need to walk away with?
It's this. You have to stop thinking of your application as just a bunch of forms you have to fill out. It's not. It's the story you are telling a complete stranger, explaining who you are, why you want to visit their home, and why they can trust you to leave. If you tell a clear, honest, and convincing story, you will give yourself the best possible shot at getting that visa.